Chapter 91, Finding a New Way Out. The excavator is relatively simple to operate, with 2 push handles and a lever to control the excavator bucket. Zhang Yi found the fuel tank and took out a barrel of diesel from dimensional space and poured it in. Then he got into the control cabin and turned the key. Rumble. Fortunately, the low temperature did not have a significant impact on the new machinery, and the excavator was still able to be used normally. Zhang Yi maneuvered the excavator and began to shovel the snow in front of him to the sides. At first he was a bit slow, but he gradually became faster. Half an hour later, a 3-meter-deep pit had been dug, and even the crawler tracks could move slowly. Fortunately, the excavator did not have wheels underneath, and Zhang Yi even felt that in case of an emergency, this thing could be used as a transporter. It was a bit slow, but the excavator's crawler tracks really had no problem driving on snow. This thing could even go over muddy marshes. It was really awesome. With his limited skills, Zhang Yi worked for almost 2 hours before finally digging up the solid building. He was overjoyed and quickly followed the building to blow the snow to the side. This was when he slowly saw the huge roofed platform at the gas station. Finding the gas station building was a relief. The next step was to follow this thing and clear the snow. Due to his lack of skill, Zhang Yi was busy for 4 or 5 hours before he dug to the gas station storefront. Fortunately, the excavator did the digging, not him, or he would definitely have died of exhaustion. Zhang Yi got off the excavator and sent it back to dimensional space. Then he broke the glass on the window and jumped inside. When he arrived at the convenience store, he was also taken aback. The snow had broken through the doors, and most of the space inside was filled with snow. Fortunately, the back doors were still visible. Zhang Yi stepped through the snow, as he needed to find the place where the oil was stored first. The storage tanks at gas stations are usually underground, which also avoids the risk of being buried in snow. It didn't take long for Zhang Yi to find the entrance to the oil storage room. Despite the large front of the gas station, the space at the back is actually quite small, so it was not difficult to find an entrance. Zhang Yi used a crowbar to pry open the iron door and turned on the miner's lamp for illumination. The sight in front of him took his breath away. 4 huge oil storage tanks were placed in the oil storage room, with a capacity of almost 200 cubic meters of oil. At first glance, it was still very spectacular. Zhang Yi pondered for a while, then silently stepped back from the doors. He first briefly removed the static electricity from his body before daring to go in. At this point, the gas station had already stopped operating, and it was pitch black inside. Zhang Yi turned on the miner's lamp and blocked the oil pipeline above. The pipe opening was then wrapped in many layers with plastic sheeting and cling film to prevent leaks. He then stored all 4 huge tanks in his own dimensional space. Normally, with these 3 tanks of gasoline and 1 tank of diesel, he wouldn't have to worry about refueling his vehicles in the future. Wait a minute. Zhang Yi had a flash of inspiration and suddenly realized something very important. If I can use an excavator to dig out the snow, doesn't that mean I can also dig out other places that have been buried by the snow? In that case, the whole world will become a huge treasure trove in the future. Even a treasure trove all to myself. Zhang Yi's mind was racing with ideas and he was overcome with joy at this realization. Beneath the heavy snow lay many buried treasures. What a find! All the better for him. Zhang Yi knew he would never have to worry about running out of anything again. The whole world was at his disposal. Zhang Yi climbed along the tracks of the excavator to the surface of the snow and then got on the snowmobile. Time was running out, so that was the end of the day's search. He went to the supermarket in Wanda Plaza again and brought back 2 bags of junk food. As soon as the snowmobile appeared outside the community, many people stared at him through the windows. Zhang Yi drove the snowmobile around to the back of the apartment building, pretended to put it in the garage, and then returned to building 25 with the 2 bags of food. Without him having to tell them, the neighbors had already gathered here. However, Fan Yuqing did not come this time. She seemed to have figured out that Zhang Yi would never give her any more food. Lin Caning, however, was not giving up and still planned to come over and try. Zhang Yi didn't even look at her. Everyone worked hard yesterday to deal with the invaders. Today's food is your reward. Food will be distributed according to the rules we agreed on before. He distributed the food according to the degree of contribution. There was only so much food anyway, so some people took more and some took less. In short, if you didn't do much work, don't expect to be able to eat much. Due to the sniper rifle incident, everyone was even more intimidated by Zhang Yi and didn't dare say much. Besides, they also knew that Zhang Yi had killed most of the enemies. Li Qingbin and Jiang Lei were not on duty last night, so they only got one serving of food each. With one serving, it meant that they would not be full. The two men looked a little disappointed. Li Qingbin said to Zhang Yi, "Brother Zhang, we're just waiting for them to come over here. I don't know how long we'll have to wait. You killed more than 10 of them, I'm afraid they're all too scared to come over. If this goes on, how are we going to earn our rewards?" Young men are impatient. Zhang Yi ran a hand over his nose and said with a faint smile, "Opportunities are reserved for the prepared. I only said that killing an enemy would earn 5 portions of food. But I didn't say you could just wait for them to attack." Li Qingbin and Jiang Lei's eyes lit up. "You mean we can take the initiative? So we can kill people from other buildings and trade them for rewards?" The two were very excited. They desperately needed food, and there was also a desire to perform in the group. They hoped to prove their strength, and then become Zhang Yi's henchmen and follow Zhang Yi around. Zhang Yi thought about it. So far, apart from the Tiana gang in Building 26, no one else had made a move on Building 25. But no one can guarantee what will happen in the future. Especially after Zhang Yi exposed his snowmobile, there were definitely even more people in the community who had their eyes on him. Jiang Lei and Li Qingbin's proposal made Zhang Yi consider it. These people were originally cannon fodder that Zhang Yi had recruited. If they wanted to go and get themselves killed, then let them. After all, this junk food was worthless to Zhang Yi. His face immediately broke into a smile of approval, and he nodded, saying, "Of course. Everyone outside is an enemy now, and killing them will ensure the safety of our group. Right now, no matter which building they're from, everyone except us can be killed, and they can be exchanged for rewards." Despite what he said, due to the low temperatures and heavy snow outside, they could only pick a few nearby buildings to attack. The first to bear the brunt was naturally the Tiana gang's Building 26 next door. Li Qingbin and Jiang Lei cheered excitedly. The other people had different expressions on their faces, wondering what was going through their minds. But it was obvious that some of them were tempted. After all, who wouldn't want to get more food? Chapter 92, If you don't save my grandson, you deserve to die. After distributing the food, Lin Caning caused another disturbance, but was beaten up badly by Jiang Lei and Li Qingbin, Zhang Yi's lackeys. Zhang Yi then told them to go back to their respective homes. Zhou Qir walked next to him, put her arm around his and whispered, "There's something wrong with the atmosphere in the community today." Zhang Yi silently pulled his arm away and asked faintly, "Oh, what's going on?" Zhou Qir was slightly startled, and then realized that Zhang Yi didn't want his arms to be restrained. It was fine at home, but outside, Zhang Yi would never let his guard down. She said, "I always feel like there are a lot of eyes watching us, and this feeling is very strong." Zhang Yi smiled faintly, not surprising. The appearance of the snowmobile will inevitably cause jealousy in others. After all, this is the South, and this type of transportation is extremely rare. With it, we can go out to find supplies, which means we can survive. Who wouldn't want to survive? Zhou Qir was a little worried. "Do you think the people in the other apartment buildings will attack us too?" "I'm afraid it will be very dangerous then." Zhang Yi heard this and looked around. Noticing that no one was around, he spoke in a low voice, "Don't we still have a lot of cannon fodder? Besides, no matter how capable they are, it will be extremely difficult for them to break into our home." Zhou Qir laughed and said, "But if someone is pushed too far, no one knows what they might do." Zhang Yi nodded, "You're right." While the two of them were talking, Zhang Yi took a habit of looking around. After all, it was best if no one else heard their conversation. However, it was this glance that suddenly made him see a black crack appear at the end of his peripheral vision. At this moment, he and Zhou Qiu were passing the 13th floor, and a gap appeared in the iron door of the stairwell. A blood-red eye stared at him through the gap. "Who is it?" Zhang Yi's muscles suddenly tightened up. Even though he was very brave, this sudden turn of events still made him a little nervous. The doors of the stairwell were pushed open with a bang. A disheveled woman screamed and rushed out, brandishing a bloody kitchen knife and swinging it at his head. "Ah!" Zhou Qiu screamed in fear. Zhang Yi quickly pushed Zhou Qiu hard to the side, and due to the reaction force, he himself fell to one side as well. The swing missed and the woman fell to the ground. But the woman, like a madwoman, continued to slash at Zhang Yi with her knife. Who knew that Zhang Yi would take advantage of the situation and roll down the stairs? He was wearing thick clothes and a bulletproof vest underneath, so he wasn't afraid of hurting himself. After rolling down multiple flights of stairs, Zhang Yi's body finally stabilized. At this time, he saw who the woman was, and it was Auntie Lynn, who had disappeared a long time ago. Auntie Lynn was relentless, brandishing a kitchen knife and chasing after him with bloodshot eyes. "Zhang Yi, I want you to pay for what you did to my grandson." "Damn you, old hag." Zhang Yi had already calmed down. With his right hand, he took out a thick, long crowbar from dimensional space and smashed it directly over her head. The stairs were narrow, and Auntie Lynn had no room to avoid the attack. Her small kitchen knife never stood a chance against Zhang Yi. She instinctively dodged the crowbar, which missed her head and smashed into her shoulder instead. Snap! Zhang Yi heard the sound of bones breaking. This old lady really couldn't withstand the blow. Auntie Lynn was knocked over onto the stairs and lost all strength to resist. Even so, she still clutched the blood-stained kitchen knife in her hand and glared fiercely at Zhang Yi. "I'll kill you. I'll avenge my grandson." Zhang Yi looked down at her coldly and then raised the crowbar and smashed it down hard on her hand. It's true that the human body is fragile in the cold. With one blow, all three of her fingers were smashed, and the kitchen knife fell to the ground with a clang. "Ah!" Her pig-slaughtering screams echoed through the stairwell. The patrol heard the commotion and hurried over to investigate. Seeing it was Zhang Yi and Auntie Lynn, they couldn't help but ask, "Zhang, what's going on?" Zhang Yi said coldly, "This old woman tried to kill me." Upon hearing this, the men immediately cursed, "This old woman deserves to die. Brother Zhang is now the hope of our entire building, and she even tried to kill you. Just kill her. She's already gone crazy, and she'll be a problem sooner or later if she stays alive." Auntie Lynn had indeed gone crazy a long time ago, and had been talking nonsense in the group chat all day long before that. Zhang Yi said, "You guys go back, I'll handle things here." The others dared not disobey Zhang Yi and obediently left the scene. Zhou Qiu stood on the stairs, covering her mouth with her hands, looking at Zhang Yi with a worried face. "Zhang Yi, are you hurt?" Zhang Yi pointed at Auntie Lynn's head and said coldly, "She can't hurt me." Auntie Lynn stubbornly raised her head and looked at Zhang Yi with resentful eyes. "Zhang Yi, you deserve to die. You deserve to die. You killed my grandson, and you will definitely go to hell." Zhang Yi did not rush to attack. Instead, he asked calmly, "You're the one who killed your grandson, so why are you coming after me for revenge?" Auntie Lynn had chosen the perfect moment to strike. It was clear that she had planned this long ago. Knowing that Zhang Yi would return at this time, she hid behind the doors and waited for the opportunity to attack. And Zhang Yi was also talking to Zhou Qiu, and was slightly distracted, which gave her the opportunity. Otherwise, with Zhang Yi's cautious nature, it is impossible for him not to notice the problem with the crack in the doors. At this time, Zhang Yi wanted to ask this crazy woman why she was doing this to him. Auntie Lynn glared at Zhang Yi fiercely, her teeth gritted, spitting furiously, looking like a mad dog. "It was you who killed my grandson. You deserve to die 1,000 deaths. I want to drink your blood and eat your flesh, and bite you to death, piece by piece." Zhang Yi's expression remained calm. "But I don't remember killing your grandson. Strictly speaking, I'm still your benefactor." Because it was Chen Zhenghao's men who kicked your grandson to death, and I helped you kill Chen Zhenghao. You should be thanking me. Auntie Lynn froze for a moment. Then she became even angrier, because she found Zhang Yi's words to be reasonable. But how could a woman, especially an unreasonable woman, admit that she was in the wrong? Don't pretend to be a good person. My grandson wasn't dead yet at the time, but he died of pain later because there was no medication. It was you. You were the culprit. You refused to lend me the medicine, and that's what killed him. Auntie Lynn spat out her words, her eyes red from the blood vessels bulging out, looking like a hideous demon. Chapter 93, Keeping an Elderly Person Warm. Zhang Yi finally understood the whole story. Oh, I see. So that's how you look at it. He nodded. But isn't there some kind of misunderstanding in this matter? He looked down at Auntie Lynn and met her hateful gaze. Then Zhang Yi lowered his voice and said, actually, deep down, I'm a softie, even if I have a tough exterior. How could I bear to watch a child die in pain? So later, I went to your house to deliver the medicine. Auntie Lynn's eyes widened. You're talking nonsense. No, I really am telling the truth. I went to your house, just think about it. Oh, that's right, you were too focused at the time, so you probably forgot. A hint of regret appeared in Zhang Yi's eyes. Because when I went over there, you were busy eating. To be precise, you were gnawing on something. Your grandson, Lin Xiaohu, wasn't actually dead at that time. As long as he took my medicine, he would be able to live a long life. But for some reason, when I went over there that day, I found that you chopped him alive then butchered him to death. Zhang Yi's eyes became dark, and her tone was cold. Auntie Lynn was already mentally unstable. Hearing Zhang Yi's words made her mind become even more chaotic. A look of panic flashed in her eyes. Because she remembered that after Lin Xiaohu's death, she had no choice but to dispose of him in order to survive. No, it's impossible. Xiaohu was already dead at the time, and it was you who killed him. Zhang Yi laughed out loud, pointing at Zhou Qi and saying, if you don't believe me, you can ask Dr. Zhou. Was Lin Xiaohu still able to be saved? Auntie Lynn turned her head blankly and looked at Zhou Qi on the steps. Zhou Qi saw Zhang Yi's grim smile and couldn't help but feel a chill in her heart. No wonder Zhang Yi didn't kill Auntie Lynn directly, but instead had a long conversation with her. It turns out that he not only wanted Auntie Lynn to die, but also to destroy her heart, so that she would die in extreme pain. Zhou Qi looked down at Auntie Lynn and nodded slowly. Yes, Lin Xiaohu actually had a chance to be saved. At that time, it was I who contacted Zhang Yi, and he agreed to deliver the medicine. But you didn't wait for him to arrive, and wrongly assumed that Lin Xiaohu would die, so you killed him even though he was still alive and... Zhou Qi didn't finish her sentence, as she found the thought of it disgusting. After all, Auntie Lynn had boasted every day about how much she loved her grandson. But what had happened in the end? She had even gone so far as to eat Lin Xiaohu in order to stay alive. That was beyond the bottom line of humanity. She was worse than a pig or a dog. Auntie Lynn covered her face in despair and wailed in agony. No, it's not possible. It's not true, I didn't know he was still alive. I thought he was dead. She waited a long time before she could bring herself to use the blade. At first, she told herself that she would only eat a little bit, just a little bit. But then she got more and more hungry, and after eating the meat, the satisfaction of feeling full made her appetite even stronger. Until later, she gnawed on every last bone of Lin Xiaohu. Zhang Yi suddenly shouted, "Ha ha, so that's what happened. This is the good grandmother of the Lin family." For a mouthful of food, she mercilessly beheaded her grandson, who was still alive. What do you think? Your grandson tasted pretty good, didn't he? You must have really loved him. Your son and daughter-in-law entrusted their grandson to you. Have you done them justice? Auntie Lynn's eyes were unfocused, and she covered her head and let out a painful wail. No, it's not like that, it's not like that. Yes, it is. No, it's not like that, it's not like that. Yes, it is. You did it. Auntie Lynn was there, wailing in pain and despair. Zhang Yi was laughing next to her, adding fuel to the fire. Even Zhou Qiu felt a chill down her spine. People like Zhang Yi should never be provoked to death. He was just too terrifying when it came to tormenting people. Ah! Auntie Lynn suddenly let out a scream and slammed her head against the wall. She had completely broken down and lost all hope of survival. Death would be the best release for her. But at the critical moment, Zhang Yi did a good deed for once. He was so kind, how could he bear to watch his neighbor die in front of him? Zhang Yi shouted in his mouth, "No!" Then he kicked Auntie Lynn away with one foot. With a thud, Auntie Lynn fell to one side and rolled down the stairs to the floor below. Zhang Yi said with a heavy heart, "Auntie Lynn, you must look to the future. Don't be so stubborn. After all," he added with a smile, "you're only alive because you sacrificed your grandson. If you die, how will you face your whole family down there?" Auntie Lynn was spitting blood at this point and could no longer speak, but her eyes were full of pleading for Zhang Yi. "Stop it, please, stop it." At this point, neighbors from the nearby floors heard the commotion and rushed over to see what was going on. Zhang Yi pointed at Auntie Lynn and exclaimed, "Everyone come and look, Auntie Lynn is trying to escape reality. She killed her grandson, Lin Xiaohu, in order to survive, and she even ate him. What a woman with a strong desire to survive." The neighbors' eyes revealed expressions of extreme disgust after hearing this. Even if some people kill a corpse in order to survive, no one would ever do such a thing to their closest relatives. That is their last moral bottom line. Auntie Lynn was being stared at by these people, and her mental breakdown worsened. She spat out blood in large mouthfuls, and her eyes were filled with a look of struggle and pain. She won't live long. She'll freeze to death in half an hour at most. Zhou Qiu said to Zhang Yi as he walked over to him. Zhang Yi had hit her hard, and her internal organs had ruptured from the blows. Freeze to death? Zhang Yi frowned. How can someone be so cruel? In this cold weather, you're letting her freeze to death. I can't stand to watch. The neighbors looked at Zhang Yi in disbelief. Could it be that Zhang Yi was going to let Auntie Lynn go? Zhou Qiu, who knew Zhang Yi well, gave him a helpless glance and said, "What do you want to do?" Zhang Yi let out a sigh. "Hey, it's not easy being an old person. Let's keep her warm until she dies." He put his hand inside his shirt and pretended to be searching for something, but in fact he was retrieving a bottle of alcohol from dimensional space. He unscrewed the cap and clatter, it spilled all over Auntie Lynn. Seeing this, the neighbors finally understood what Zhang Yi was trying to do. They were speechless, but at the same time they felt that it was very reasonable. After all, this was Zhang Yi. When had you ever seen him show mercy to people who had wronged him and even tried to kill him? After splashing the bottle of alcohol, Zhang Yi quickly stepped back, lit a cigarette with a lighter, took 2 puffs, and threw it over. Whoosh! The flame immediately burst into flames. Soon, an extremely miserable scream resounded through the stairwell. Zhang Yi turned around and walked back, not even bothering to look back. The other neighbors were so scared that they hurriedly made way for Zhang Yi, their eyes full of fear. Chapter 94, Building Number 9, Chen Lingling Yu. After Zhang Yi and Zhou Qiu returned to the room, they took off their winter clothes and sat on the sofa, cursing fiercely, "This crazy bitch." He lay on the sofa. Zhou Qiu went into the bathroom and a little while later, she brought out a pot of hot water. She smiled as she knelt in front of Zhang Yi and helped him take off the cotton socks on his feet, then washed his feet with her own hands. She asked softly, "Were you shocked just now?" Zhang Yi leaned back against the sofa and said leisurely, "Actually, it's okay. Since the end of the world, I've stopped being surprised by anything. In these chaotic times, anything is possible." He was wearing police bulletproof vests, so unless the old woman was a nimble killer who could precisely strike his neck, she couldn't hurt him. But Zhang Yi is not a piece of wood, so of course he will dodge. While I was gone, did anything happen in the neighborhood? Especially in the other apartment buildings, was there any movement? Zhou Qiu nodded slowly when she heard this. "I was just going to tell you about it." Zhang Yi sat up slightly, his eyes full of curiosity and caution. "Oh, what happened?" Zhou Qir massaged the soles of Zhang Yi's feet as she said lightly, "Over at Building 9, the person in charge now is my former patient Chen Lingling Yu. She contacted me today, hoping that I could help her get in touch with you so that she can request to be your WeChat friend. Then she said that she wanted to talk to you about something." Zhang Yi's eyebrows furrowed slightly. Building 9, Chen Lingling Yu? This was a name that was very unfamiliar to him. And although they were in the same neighborhood, Yuelu neighborhood was huge, stretching almost 500 meters from north to south. His building, number 25, together with number 9, was practically at the edge of the village, and there was no way they would ever come into contact with each other. "What does she want to talk to me about?" Zhang Yi asked. Zhou Qir shrugged. "She just said she wanted to talk to the leader of Building 25 about cooperation. But the details have to be discussed by you." Zhang Yi snorted. "Cooperation? What cooperation? Right now, I don't need anything, while they can only wait and die in the building. What can they possibly offer me in return?" Zhou Qir looked up, a light smile on the corners of her mouth. "So I'll tell her you don't want to talk to her?" Zhang Yi waved his hand. "There's no need to be in such a hurry. Tell me about her, what's she like? And the situation in their building." Zhou Qir then told Zhang Yi what she knew. Chen Lingling Yu is the owner of a beauty and cosmetics company in Tianhai City, valued at 200 million yuan. Although it is called a beauty and cosmetics company, it is actually an enterprise engaged in microbusiness. Chen Lingling Yu is 38 years old, of average appearance, and has a strong personality. She is an able and strong woman. She and Zhou Qir met when they went to the People's First Hospital for treatment. Their relationship is average, and they are at most casual acquaintances. As for the 9th building, it is now under the control of her and her subordinates. According to the information Zhou Qir found out, the 9th building is currently being managed very well, and only 10 people have died so far. After listening to this, Zhang Yi pinched his fingers together and nodded, saying, "At a time like this, a woman can actually manage a building. This Chen Lingling Yu really is something." Zhou Qir let out a light sigh. "Yes, after all, she is in the small business of pyramid schemes, so of course she is good at brainwashing others." Zhang Yi chuckled. "That's a ruthless person. When she's really determined, she'll betray her own family and friends. You can never be too careful with that kind of woman." Zhou Qir nodded. "I don't have a very good impression of her either. We haven't been in touch for a long time. She suddenly approached me today and asked me to pass on a message for her." Zhang Yi said, "That's not surprising. The news that I now own a snowmobile and can go out and gather supplies has long since spread. Who in the whole neighborhood isn't jealous of me? Who doesn't want my snowmobile?" Zhou Qir nodded. "In that case, do you still want to talk to her?" Zhang Yi rested his hand under his chin and thought for a few minutes. "Let's talk. I also want to know what the other buildings are up to these days. At the very least, we can't provoke those other people all at once. Otherwise, if the people in the other 29 buildings turn their backs on me, that wouldn't be good. If Zhang Yi just hid in his house and didn't go out, he wouldn't have to fear them. But now, Zhang Yi knows that the outside world is a huge treasure trove, and he will need to continue going out to collect various supplies for survival in the future. So for the time being, he can't afford to fall out with the people in the other 29 buildings." So, while enjoying Zhou Qir's delicate massage, Zhang Yi opened his phone and WeChat. There were over 99 friend requests on his list, which he had been too lazy to check. After all, the people who were looking for him were basically asking for supplies, so he didn't bother. When he opened the friend request list, the first one Zhang Yi saw was a Hibiscus Group president Chen Lingling Yu. She was wearing a women's suit and white shirt, her arms crossed in a deep expression, with an exaggerated smile on her face, the standard WeChat business profile picture. Zhang Yi was about to accept the friend request when his eyes suddenly noticed a slightly familiar profile picture below. The WeChat profile pictures of business people are basically personal photos. So Zhang Yi immediately recognized who the person was. Li Jian, the financial director of Walmart's South China region. He knew him because he had seen him go on stage during the annual company dinner. Zhang Yi also knew that he lived in the same neighborhood as him, but the two had no overlap in their work and therefore had no contact. Zhang Yi glanced at the time of the friend request, 10:30 this morning. That was shortly after he had just left the community. It seems that he is also looking for me for the same reason. Zhang Yi had an idea. After a little thought, he simply approved both friend requests. He would see what each person had to say to him and use that to determine how to respond to the other community members throughout the 29 different buildings. As soon as he approved the friend requests, he received replies almost immediately. Hello, Mr. Zhang Yi. I'm Chen Lingling Yu from Building 9. I'm currently in charge of managing Building 9. I'd like to chat with you. Hello, Mr. Zhang. I'm Li Jian from Building 18. Thank you for approving my friend request. On behalf of the residents of Building 18, I'd like to chat with you about cooperation. Zhang Yi opened Chen Lingling Yu's chat box first. What do you want to talk about? Chen Lingling Yu replied immediately, it's not convenient to chat like this. Can we talk on the phone? No, it's not convenient for me. Let's just chat like this. Zhang Yi said coldly. He was very familiar with women who engaged in WeChat sales, and their mouths worked like machine guns. If you gave them a chance, they could talk non-stop for 3 days and nights. If you have something to say, just say it directly. I'm not patient and don't like to hear nonsense. Chapter 95, Cooperation and Attitude. Zhang Yi first gave Chen Lingling Yu a cold shoulder to show her that he was not someone to be trifled with. In Building 9, Chen Lingling Yu paced back and forth in the room. She wasn't nervous, but it was cold, and she could warm up a bit by walking a bit more. She was wearing many layers of clothing, but it seemed as if she was trying to look as elegant as possible. Even on the outside, she had specially put on a coat with a fox fur collar. After receiving Zhang Yi's cold message, she took a deep breath and said to herself, he really is a formidable person. You can't be careless. Facing Zhang Yi, Chen Lingling Yu was actually very nervous and even fearful inside. After all, Zhang Yi's achievements had spread far and wide. He alone killed half the neighbors in an entire building. And he had a lot of weapons, even something as terrifying as a sniper rifle. All kinds of rumors have made everyone in other buildings who has heard the story of Zhang Yi deeply fear him. Chen Lingling Yu calmed her emotions and typed out the words that had been drafted countless times in her mind. Mr. Zhang Yi, I have long admired your name. We have heard your story for a long time and have always hoped to meet you. Now that we know you have a snowmobile, you can go out and find supplies. So we hope to cooperate with you. Zhang Yi glanced at the message and gave a mocking smile. Cooperation? What can you offer me in return? You should understand that cooperation requires an exchange of equal conditions. Chen Lingling Yu immediately said, we in Building 9 live in harmony and haven't had many deaths. So we have plenty of manpower. Now that you have a snowmobile in your hands, you can leave the neighborhood and go out to explore. Chen Lingling Yu got excited as she spoke. We can provide you with 76 people, all of them the best laborers. It's snowing and freezing outside, and order has seemingly been lost. In other words, whoever gets what the world has buried under ice and snow will own it. You have the means of transport and weapons, and I have the obedience and hard work of my followers. Together, we can achieve great things. Zhang Yi scratched his ear. It sounds impressive, but it's all empty talk. I ask you, with so many people not even knowing how they will survive tomorrow, what the hell are you going to accomplish? Chen Lingling Yu swallowed. Of course, this means you have to help us collect food to ensure our safety first. And no matter what kind of project you want to do, our people are the best labor force. Zhang Yi shook his head and had lost interest. As the leader of a pyramid scheme, it was okay to deceive those stupid business owners in desperate situations, but to deceive someone in a higher position was just asking for trouble. He didn't even bother to type and send a message using his voice. I'm not interested at all in what you have to say. Goodbye. Chen Lingling Yu became a little anxious when she heard what Zhang Yi had said. She gritted her teeth and quickly sent a message over. You have now become the target of jealousy in the entire community. As long as you provide us with food, we can at least remain neutral towards you. You don't want us to become your enemy, do you? After reading this, Zhang Yi's face became slightly serious. This is what he wanted to hear. Why did they say so much useless stuff before? These damn small entrepreneurs. Oh, is that so? Many people in the apartment building want to attack me? Haha, I don't believe it. I'm doing well now, who would dare attack me? Zhang Yi asked tentatively. Chen Lingling Yu knew that Zhang Yi was testing her, but in order to show her sincerity, she had to reveal some information. Zhang Yi, you are a smart person and should understand the danger of possessing great talent. There are thousands of people living in this entire neighborhood, and everyone is just waiting to starve to death in their houses. You are the only one who can ride a snowmobile to go out and find food. If you were in my shoes, wouldn't you be jealous? The reason why everyone hasn't made a move yet is because they are weighing the pros and cons. But it is only a matter of time before they make a move on you. I am not asking for much, as long as you can guarantee our basic food needs, the people in our building will never turn against you. Upon hearing this, Zhang Yi's eyes narrowed slightly. In a sense, this was considered a threat. Oh? You mean to say that if I don't agree, your building number 9 will attack our building number 25, right? Zhang Yi's voice was cold, full of murderous intent. Chen Lingling Yu couldn't help but tremble, but she quickly said firmly, I believe you will not choose to do so. Making us your enemy will not benefit you even if you win. The reason she was so calm was also because the distance between building 25 and building 9 was relatively far. If Zhang Yi tried to lead people over to attack, it would be like cutting off the rear. Moreover, there was a possibility that they would be attacked by people from other buildings. We only need some food, nothing else. And with my abilities, combined with your combat strength, there is no problem ruling the entire neighborhood in the future. Chen Lingling Yu said with some excitement. Zhang Yi's smile at the corner of his mouth was somewhat condescending. This is the first time I've seen someone beg for food with such an air of righteous arrogance and justification. Chen Lingling Yu was so angry that she gasped, This is cooperation. Zhang Yi replied indifferently, let me think about it and get back to you. After saying this, he didn't want to continue chatting with Chen Lingling Yu anymore, so he closed the chat box. Zhang Yi placed his phone on his lap and began to ponder what the future developments were going to be. Zhang Yi didn't care about Chen Lingling Yu. She was just a mere building leader, and no matter how many people she had on her side, it wouldn't be a problem if they wanted to fight him. They had no idea how many guns and ammunition Zhang Yi had. If they really attacked, Zhang Yi, armed with an assault rifle and his supernatural ability to shoot with great precision, could eliminate them all. However, the problem was that there was definitely more than one Chen Lingling Yu in the community with this kind of thinking. Everyone in the other 29 apartment buildings had their eyes on his snowmobile. There were even some impatient people, as well as people whose supplies were running low, who were willing to risk their lives to fight him. If they really united and attacked building 25 at the same time, Zhang Yi would have to kill until his arms go numb. Zhang Yi looked up at the safe house of his home. The shell, made of aerospace alloy, can withstand the bombardment of artillery shells. Even if the entire community attacks, they will never be able to break through. Unless those people were able to blow up building 25, they posed no threat to Zhang Yi. What are the chances of that happening? Zhang Yi frowned and pondered the question. If all the people from the 29 apartment buildings really came together, there was a real possibility that it could happen. The current power supply doesn't allow for the use of high-power appliances. They won't be able to use equipment like jackhammers and electric drills. It is impossible to bring down a building entirely by hand. In the current environment of extremely low temperatures and a severe lack of food to provide energy, it is absolutely impossible. After all, with their current level of physical strength, they would probably freeze if they walked outside for a while. How could they possibly have the strength to break down the walls?